Hi there, fellow summoners. How are you all doing? Today's topic will be all about positioning for every type of role and player. First of all, I will give you some general guidelines that everyone should know, and then I will go into specific roles and how they should go about positioning themselves. In this case, I think we can just completely skip the definition part of this skill, as the name itself can pretty much explain it all. Positioning is your ability to be in the right place at the right moment. It is not an easy skill to explain or improve by just watching a guide. It takes a lot of trial and error and just practice in general to be able to pull it off correctly. And even then, you might be in the right position for your role and someone on the enemy team decides to flash for you. Here's a few general guidelines for you to keep in mind no matter what position you play. 1. Being out of position is probably the number one reason why people get killed in League. And the further you are into the game, the bigger the punishment is for getting caught, with the death timers rising and the objectives being down. Something a lot of people do, and this is due to a lack of patience, is to try to bait out a team fight as a mid laner or AD carry when the tank in your team won't initiate. You can obviously step forward to poke as Caitlyn or Ahri, as you'll have quite a few ways of escaping back to the comfort of your team if things go badly. But most of the time, just know where to be and be patient. On the other hand, if you're the tank, then assume the front line. Don't hide behind your squishies and don't be afraid to engage if you catch someone off guard. That's how games are lost and won. Getting caught out of position and catching enemies out of position. 2. In light of what I was just saying, when you know how to position yourself, you start becoming aware of how the enemies should position themselves as well. If you notice someone out of position, you need to take advantage of it. But this doesn't just refer to team fights. If you notice the squishy Akali is farming bot way ahead of where her safe towers or team is, take advantage of that, catch her, and move on to either force a team fight or take an objective for free. 3. Zoning. This meta right now, patch 7.10 I believe, is actually perfect to talk about this. There's two champions who are perfect at doing this, and they're both pretty strong meta picks right now. I'm talking about Caitlyn and Orianna. Orianna's ball is one of the most powerful zoning abilities in the game, and so are late game Caitlyn traps. Combined, they form perhaps the best zoning potential in the game. Let's let the pros explain what I mean. Take a look at this teamfight breakdown.
Take a look at Arrow's Caitlyn trap placements and the zone control that they provide. In most siege situations, Caitlyn looks to set up a straight line of traps to make it more difficult for a team to approach without eating headshots. However, in this situation, Arrow looks to have a somewhat haphazard placement of traps, funneling Dignitas to the bottom half of the lane. Yet upon closer inspection, Arrow's traps are placed in such a way to force Dignitas into a shockwave-sized passageway. The two traps near the Dignitas turret force Dignitas downwards, and the third trap ensures that Dig don't space out too much while running through the lane. As you can see, Ryu's shockwave range covers all the space between Arrow's traps and the wall at the bottom of the map. This means that Ryu has control of that space. As long as he has the cooldowns necessary to get his Orianna ball there in time, Team Dignitas can't safely walk through. As Dig lands the killing blow onto Stunts Lulu, Ryu makes the highlight play of the series on Orianna. He moves the ball into the perfect spot with command attack, then pulls in 4 members of Team Dignitas with Shockwave. A Piltover Peacemaker from Arrow's Caitlyn and a couple auto attacks afterwards nearly finish off the entire Dignitas team. Looking back, while Sumday's teleport flank was clever and timely, hopping over wall with the blast cone to find access to P1's backline, the rest of Team Dignitas were unable to safely follow up. P1 took advantage, and with the trap placement from Arrow and the ever-present shockwave threat from Ryu, they led Dig into a game-winning trap.
As you can see, zoning is the act of forcing enemies' mispositionings and taking advantage of it. Finally 4. Know when to call it quits. This goes especially for the squishy damage dealers of the team, but you can also take a hint if you're a tank. If you are being the target in team fights, you need to immediately back off to a safer position before you can start dealing damage again. Prioritize your safety and positioning over your capability to deal damage. As for specific roles and positions, each class in the game has an ideal positioning they should be aware of. Assassins are neither in the front or back line. They need to be on the side and flank the enemy team by surprise, take down the target quickly, and move out again. Fighters will have to position themselves depending on how their build looks like and what they're trying to accomplish within their team. I would say they're in the midline, not front enough that they take free poke, but also not as far from it that they're not ready to go when the team engages. Mages will stay back and go in only when their abilities are up. A manaless mage with abilities on cooldown can do nothing other than serve as living bait. They form the backline, along with the marksman. Marksmen need to stay further back than anyone else. They need to use the advantage of their long range and stay at max distance from the closest target at all possible times. Since they're the ones responsible for taking down tanks, this shouldn't really be a problem. The tanks form the front line of the team. Their sole purpose is to be far ahead enough that they can punish mispositioning and engage for their team. Finally, the support's position is one that depends on his teammates and not on his enemies like the rest. His job is to protect the carries whoever they may be, and for that, he needs to stay close to him at all times without getting caught. Just imagine yourself as having a big ball around you and your teammates as well. Look to be within your teammates' balls and away from the enemy's balls if you're a squishy, and if you're a tank, look for an enemy's ball when he is not within his team's balls. This might sound confusing, but I hope the video kind of explains what I mean. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you liked the video, and catch my stream that's on right now. You'll find the link in the description, but it's twitch.tv/Sakeios. Very easy to find, and come talk to me right now. I'd very much appreciate that. Thank you all very much for watching. Sakeios out.